Teofimo Lopez agrees with Turki Al-Sheikh in the no running clause, the no running rule that has people talking. In this video, I'm going to break down and give you guys my continued thoughts regarding this subject. Now, Teofimo told the media that he really agrees with what Turki said about the Tom and Jerry fights. I've already covered that extensively, so I'm not even going to spend some time talking about it. Quote from Teo: "There's a difference. There's boxing and then there's running. I think what he's really trying to say in those words, he just wants guys to box and throw punches in the middle of it. So be active is what he wants, right? You got to be offensive at the same time. You can't win fights just by moving around and having a low punch count. The same thing that happened with William Skull against Canelo, that's not going to please the people, and that's not going to show his country, his government, and the prince and the king like this is why we're here to support the sport. So it's our part and our duty to do what he would like," end quote. Now, let me go over this again, because some people are like, what do you mean you're supporting running? Ego, right? And the funny thing is, I am the best in the business and it's not even close. I am very clear with my words. I have a great vocabulary. I speak clearly. I don't have a speech impediment. And yet and still, people misconstrue what I'm saying. People lie and make some weird interpretation and start putting words in my mouth that I didn't say, quote unquote, you know? So here's my thing. Again, in case you missed some of the other videos, I understand the premise of not wanting a boring fight, not wanting a person to engage. And I will say there are a lot of people in this young generation, particularly, you didn't really have this. The people of old, of yesteryear, like Floyd Mayweather, Guillermo Rigondeaux, that generation and before, some of those fighters got called, quote, runners, Lada, and then they weren't running. They were actually boxing scientifically, using lateral movement, but boxing beautifully. So there is an epidemic of some of these new fighters that seem to be in preservation mode, where like Devin Haney and Jose Ramirez, that was a boring fight. I don't care if you like Devin Haney, it don't matter. If you put that fight on versus Tank Roach, you know what I mean? The choice is clear. Tank Roach, any of Tank's fights for real is better than that particular fight. Point blank, period. And you would have to be a serious liar like the Haneyacks to suggest otherwise, that you literally would rather watch that particular fight as opposed to Tank's fights when he's in entertaining fights. Some people are saying he's losing and all this stuff. And then it comes a lot of times with a knockout and a backflip, right? Come on. But I have been covering boxing for a long time. This is nothing new to me. This is everyday stuff. So again, I can understand the premise. I can understand the aim of what Turki is suggesting. However, I stand on business and I stand by what I've said from the beginning. It is a dumb play, because if you are not in the ring, you cannot control how a fighter fights. I stand by that. You can put out suggestions, you can put out recommendations, but you cannot force. It's like the old quote, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Same thing applies here. If I'm lying, then explain this. How come you have coaches and trainers who are providing excellent commentary, telling the fighter everything they should be doing, yet and still the fighter does not do that for whatever reason? They still continue to fight a dumb fight, because at the end of the day, the fighter is the one getting punched on. The fighter's in the ring, and the fighter has to fight how they believe is the best chance, whether it's right or wrong. So it sounds good for a person like Turki to be like, oh, fight this way. But to me, there's just not something that's going to work in boxing. You can shrink the ring. You could try to force it. And even with shrinking the ring, this could backfire, right? I think everyone has this concept that smaller ring equals guaranteed more action. But Smaller ring, you could have a guy look sloppier because he's really getting mad aggressive and the other person is clinching more or going low because he don't like the pressure. So I'm telling you, I know what I know, and I've been doing this. It's not a fix-all. You can try to game the system in this way, and people seem to think a smaller ring just inherently means more action. But whether you're in a slightly bigger ring or a bigger ring or not, there's ways to have a sloppy fight. And that's what you could get. If it's not somebody's style to fight a head-on fight with a major puncher, I highly doubt they're going to change overnight, because in boxing, you always resort to what you know. And you see it. Fighters will get with the brand new trainer, and the trainer teaches them all these wonderful things. Like, let's say it's a fighter not known for having a defense, right? But then when they get cracked, when they get hurt, when their legs are spaghetti, you usually see that same old fighter revert to how they've always fought. So all that other stuff they just learned for the 6 to 8 weeks or whatever is out the window, because you're hurt and now it's about survival and not being embarrassed out there, right? So again, that's my thoughts on it. T.O. and all these other people can agree to it, but it don't matter. I've seen fights like Canelo versus John Ryder. That was in a very small ring. I don't know the actual dimensions, but I've done this long enough. I can tell by looking at it, it was a small ring, and that wasn't a fun fight. So go back and watch that fight if you don't believe me. Canelo versus John Ryder. Canelo had home court advantage. He was the A side. He was supposed to be way better. Yet and still, even with the small ring, the John Ryder fight wasn't like a historic fight. It wasn't like a fight I've ever been compelled to go back and watch. So you guys can say whatever. Oh, you're supporting running. You can't play God in boxing and mandate things that you think are beneficial and expect like the game is going to be changed and altered. Unless you're in there getting punched, it's easy for you to say from the outside. Fighters got to be themselves. What I've also noticed in this life is the more you insist and the more you push, a lot of times the worse it is for you, right? Like if you like a girl and you have a big, huge crush on her and she's not feeling you, if you try to push the issue, oftentimes that's going to repel the chick. But y'all don't know about this because a lot of y'all don't know how to deal with females. I'm from Northern California Bay Area. Yee, you dig. So this home of the players, pimps, and hustlers. Stop playing. So the more you push and insist and beg for her and buy her lunch and Starbucks, if she's not feeling it, the more you cut off your chances and the more friend zoned you'll become. And if you keep pushing, you'll become somebody who's viewed as like a creepy weirdo, right? Because you're not getting a hint, yet you persist. Now you're starting to look stalkerish, right? No different than boxing. The more you try to push a quote unquote runner to fight whatever fight you want, it's probably not going to work. It's probably going to, a lot of times these situations yield the opposite results. Believe it.